Welcome to another episode of the Shifting Your Atmosphere podcast with me, Simone, the founder of Shifting Your Atmosphere, where we aspire to empower women who've lost their identity, shift from their current mindset to the one that God has for them through teaching them to show up for themselves every day. Today's topic is forgiveness. Many people would write off as not a category of showing up for yourself, right? Wrong, wrong, wrong. And before you click off and tune me out, hear me out. We're going to talk about the misconceptions around forgiveness. I'm not telling you who to forgive, why to forgive them, and all of that. That's between you, your internal thoughts, your personal discretion, and God. It would be more beneficial for us to talk about the misconceptions I personally had around forgiveness, which really made it harder for me to forgive people, right? So that if you decide to use this information to any degree, it'll help you forgive somebody, okay? If that's what you want to do. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But don't say it's because I told you to do it or not to do it. But let's go ahead and get into some of these myths that, or misconceptions rather, that I personally had in my own thinking. And I think a lot of the other people may relate to them. So I was watching a sermon yesterday and it talked about forgiveness. And what he brought up was that a lot of people aren't necessarily rejecting the idea of forgiveness, but what they're actually rejecting is the idea of what they believe forgiveness means. So he got me to thinking, y'all. So I'm like, what did I used to think, right? When I was having the hardest time forgiving people, what was it that I was thinking that made it so hard? Or was I really, really like, I'm not forgiving them. I don't care what it's about. I'm not forgiving them. Or what was really the root issue that I had with the forgiveness or why I wasn't ready to forgive somebody, right? So when he said that, it brought me to the place of thinking and finally come to the conclusion that it's the way you was thinking, the way that you was thinking about the forgiveness that you had built in your mind, or maybe you heard it from somewhere, or maybe you learned it from a family friend. I don't know where you got this from. But whatever it was, the way that you were thinking about forgiveness is the reason why you weren't willing to forget. So let's go through a couple of the ways that I was thinking in case you're thinking like that too. And you need to hear how I work through it so that you can work through it. Okay. Okay. So the first thing that I thought that was not right about forgiveness was forgiveness means that you are letting the other person off the hook and excusing your behavior. And if anybody has known me for umpteen years, you already know that one thing I'm not about to do is excuse somebody's behavior for something. I do not subscribe to the idea that, oh, that's just how they are. Oh, they cannot behave any better than the way they're behaving. No. You acting snappy and rude to people all the time is not a character trait. You were not born with the innate ability to be nasty to people every day. That I don't know about y'all, but that's just not something that I rock with. Like, I don't believe that that is true. Now, do I believe that you could become comfortable in their behavior? Absolutely. And you can indirectly attach it to your character and who you are, yeah. But because I thought that if I forgave someone, that meant I was letting them off the hook, I was like, absolutely not. I'm not finna help you believe that the way that you acting or the way that you're treating me or anything about your behavior is okay. So yeah, I guess you never gonna get forgave because you better go get the forgiveness for yourself because I'm not finna forgive you for that. Right. And I was really dead set on it. I was so set on it. And it wasn't until I began to really, really grow and mature that I realized that to forgive them, I didn't have to excuse their behavior. If I forgave them, you don't have to forgive a person and walk up to them and be like, oh, yeah, what you did was good. What you did was cool. I didn't have to do that. So once I got that through my head, it was a lot easier to forgive somebody who I felt like behavior was out of line. And before you go and say, nah, Key, I can't do it. Let's remember. forever and always, forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is not for them. So when it came to this concept that I had in my head, I had to shift my mindset to think from the perspective of I'm going to forgive them because it's a part of my behavior. That's a part of my morals. That's a part of my faith. It's a part of what I want God to do for me, right? And I took away the correlation in my mind that it had anything to do with the fact that I was co-signing for that behavior. No, this has nothing to do with that. And it took me a little minute, y'all. I ain't gonna stunt. I ain't gonna lie. It took me a little minute because y'all know sometimes we have people in our lives that are either repeat offenders or they're people that you can't necessarily exit out of your life completely. Like I dealt with that a lot. I dealt with people that would offend me and I didn't want to forgive because I did not want to excuse their behavior, but I wasn't able just to ghost them. I wasn't able to block them and be like, I'm moving on. I'll never see you again. Like certain people you could probably do that with, but the people that you cannot do that with, yeah, that's where this comes to play. That's where forgiveness comes in so that you can still be able to deal with them to some capacity. And this leads me to I'll forgive them when their behavior change. So I was like, look, you get forgiveness when you change your behavior. You know what I mean? And I don't know exactly where I adopted that from, but I really think it has something, some kind of correlation to the fact that people say saying you're sorry without change behavior is not like a genuine apology. Um, so I think I decided that a person wasn't worthy of forgiveness or I wasn't willing to give up forgiveness if you didn't change your behavior. But again, I had to get in my mind forgiveness is not about that person. What if they never change their behavior, y'all? What if the person that you're saying, hey, look, I'm going to forgive them when they change, when they act different, when they act better? What if they never change? What if they continue to do the same thing over and over and over? Because the honest truth is, if people repeatedly offend you, it's a slight chance that they're doing it on purpose, but the bigger the bigger part of probably why they're doing it is because they see no wrong in it. And how can a person change a behavior or correct the behavior that they already don't think that's wrong in the first place? They're not finna do that. So if you're holding up your progress, your growth, your healing because you're waiting on another person to change who repeatedly hurt you already, because let's be real, if a person hurts you one time or offends you one time or you block them and you move on, it's honestly not that hard to forgive them, right? Because it's not that deep. It's kind of like getting a flesh wound. Like it's not that hard. It's not that deep. It's not something that really, really hurts you that bad. Like if you lose a relationship after a couple months, it's like, I kind of might miss that person. It's not that big a deal. But the person that you knew for 5 years, 10 years, that hurt you to your soul, to your core, that you trusted with everything, like, baby, forgiving them is different. Forgiving them is different. And you will have to become okay with the fact that they may never change, but that still doesn't have anything to do with whether you should forgive them or not. Because honestly, again, the forgiveness is for you. That person is not probably trying to heal. That person probably hurts everybody they run into. That person is not going to stop hurting people just so that you can go ahead and be okay with forgetting them. They probably would have said sorry if they were going to do that, but they probably didn't. Which, here's another one. Here's another one. I had it in my head that you must get closure or address a person about an issue to be able to forgive them. You don't. You don't. You don't. And I learned this the hard way. I learned this the very, very hard way. I'm gonna tell you why. If you go to a person who's unwilling to apologize and reconcile whatever type, address whatever type of issue you have, they don't see any value in what issue you're addressing. if they don't talk to you because you want to talk to them, you're probably going to get hurt more. You're probably going to get offended again. You're probably going to shove the knife that much deeper. You're probably going to have another altercation or interaction that's going to go negatively. If two people are willing to have a conversation to produce change or address the issue to come to some kind of conclusion or reconciliation or solution, that's different. But if you're dealing with someone that is so hard for you to forgive, talking to them is not going to make forgiving them easier. It's going to deepen the hurt. It's going to deepen the wound. I used to tell people like it would hurt me so much more for me to pour out all of my energy, all of my heart, trying to use proper communication methods and all that stuff. It would tear me apart so much more when you showed me that none of that mattered. After you already were the one that offended me, I didn't really do nothing to you, but you did something to me. And I tried to come to you in a way that would help us clear the air. And you literally addressed me in this conversation. Just let me know you still don't care. And I'm trying to help myself forgive you by trying to talk and have closure. No, no, no. You're going to have to become okay with never getting the answers. You're going to have to become okay with if you never get the closure. You're going to have to become okay if you never know the other half of the story. You're going to have to become okay if you never know the truth or the root behind the problem. You're going to have to become okay with the unknown to forgive some people. Because quite honestly, I can say from my personal experience, like it just made everything worse. And we get offended again by a person who already is offending you 8 to 10 times. Now you really mad. And because you tried to address it and you feel like you were successful at addressing it, it just turns into built up anger, built up aggression, built up offense, which now you can't stay on the side of the person. Now you can't start replaying the situation in your head. Now you will never be able to deal with or trust another person who even says the same. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I just laugh because one person told me one time when I got upset with him, he was like, I was like, you just saying something everybody else say. He was like, Kiana, there's only so many words in the English language. How do you think I can't say some words somebody else said? And I let him have that one. I let him have that one, y'all, because I was being triggered by something that I had a hard time addressing and forgiving somebody else for. And because he used the same words, the same phrase, the same lineup, like I was finna chop his head off. And it's like, that is a negative response to unforgiveness sitting inside you. You trying to move forward, you trying to move on, but you have forgiven another person who offended you another way. Now you attack another person because they triggered you, because they do something similar, because they look the same as the person, because they wear the same clothes. Like anything, like I know some people who will not date people who look a certain way, who will not date people that have a certain skin color, people who will not date people who have a certain kind of car because somebody hurt them with it. And it's just like, I get it. Like, I get how our minds be working, but at the same time, it's like, are we being realistic? Are we being realistic or are we just not healing up our unforgiveness within ourselves? And the only way you're going to be able to begin to heal some of those places and heal some of those wounds if you're willing to forgive somebody, which really is just releasing you from holding on to what they did to you. So that's how it becomes about you and less about them. And I think that was one of the big turning points for me when I was able to more so freely give forgiveness because I put it in my mind and like I made a shift in my mindset that forgiveness is about me. Forgiveness is about me. Me working through these hard things are about me. It's about me clearing up my mental space. It's about me clearing up my heart. It's about me healing and growing in myself so that I could treat people better, so that I can teach my children better habits and not just stay upset about habits that were taught to me. I can parent my children better versus being upset about the way that I was parented. Like, I needed to address forgiveness for me and not for anyone else, but for me. And yeah, like I understand why it can be hard. 'Cause think about it, if you thinking these things, like you don't want to give another person the satisfaction of any of these. Like I didn't want to give anybody the satisfaction of any of these. And I felt like if I forgave them, I was. Until God really began to work with me and sit with me and say, it's not about that. It's not about that. Another thing that the pastor said in the sermon, and I've learned along the way, is that some of us have a hard time with forgiving people because we feel like they didn't earn the forgiveness. They're not deserving of the forgiveness. And he went further to say that even when we're sitting in our prayers and we're telling God, like, God, they did X, Y, and Z to me. They offended me. See how they treat me down? This, they don't value me. They don't this, they don't that. Not to discredit any of the information, right? But if we're using that information to tell God why we're not going to forgive somebody, he going to look at us and be like, did you deserve it when I forgave you for your sins? Did you deserve it when I forgave you for ignoring me? Did you for did you deserve it when I forgave you for whatever it is that you have done? Probably not. Probably not. And y'all know my brain is a little sporadic. So another thing that I thought is that every time someone hurt me or offended me, that it was intentional, right? That in my mind, I had decided that a person sat there and had a meeting and constructed a plan. Like, yeah, I don't know. The thinking was a little off. It was a little off. But in my mind, I said, you know what? You, whoever it is, Jane Doe went and she sat down and she had a meeting. She journaled out everything she could about me and how she was going to get me. Like, y'all, the devil could play with y'all thoughts. The devil could play with y'all thoughts. Because he had me thinking that they really, really constructed a plan. So not only was I upset with them for whatever they did to offend me, but I was even more upset that it was intentionally planned out. Like that they intentionally thought so little of me or they intentionally wanted to hurt me so bad. Like they had like a full vendetta out against me to the point that they put a whole plan together to hurt me. And that's not always true, y'all. And I ain't saying that there aren't some people who do things that to intentionally hurt other people and anything about how you should go about forgiving them. But what I'm saying is every single time someone offends you, it's not always intentional. And the reason I had to come to that conclusion was because, again, a repeat offender was offending me so often, so much, and it was stressing me out, y'all. It was stressing me out. I felt like I was never gonna come from up under or be able to deal with this person because they were offending me so often. And over time, it began to be revealed to me that I was catching the back end of something that had nothing to do with me. So here I am, almost to the point that I can't stand the sight of the person. I can't stand to hear their voice. Like I can't stand to see their name. I can't stand to have a discussion about them or anything because I'm just that like, bruh. It baffles me that you feel like this behavior is okay. It baffles me that you feel like you can come up here and do this every single day. Like it baffles me with what you got going on. And it's so hard to forgive you for this because before I can get through forgiving you for one, you're gonna do it again. Like you didn't give me enough time to forgive you before you start doing it again. So it was really, really hard for me. But eventually, when I became more open to forgiving, was when I it began to be revealed to me, and I came to the realization that I'm catching the back end of some other unresolved issue that they had. Like, for example, let's just say, as a kid, right? Your mama do something to hurt you or offend you, right? You can't talk bad to your mama, right? But then your little friend, they do something light, right? It's not even that big deal. They do something light. Baby, you going off on them, you trying to hurt them, you trying to spite them, you trying to do everything with your chest because you couldn't go off on your mama, which is the person that really, really hurt you. But you can go off on little Susie. And so you putting everything you got into going off on little Susie because she's the first person that you can address. She's the person that you feel like you're in a place or position or on the same playing field with, so that it's okay for you to treat this person or say this to this person because you can't really address the person that you actually have the problem or the issue with. So you really ain't even got no problem with me. But because you can't talk to or get crazy with the person that really offended you, you projected it over here. So you're displacing your reaction or you're displacing your anger. You're displacing your response to an offense and turn it into offending me, hurting me. Like somebody else hurt you so long ago because you couldn't talk crazy to them about how they hurt you or tell them or express that to them. I was 2 minutes late and you're like, that's it. I'm done. And I didn't been that person before. Sometimes I had to grow out of that too because I had gotten out of other situations, other relationships, and I had forgiven those people, but I was moving on, right? And every little thing would just, I'm out. I'm out. Okay. Mm, mm. I think you, yeah, no. I think you breathed the way that he breathed. I think you did this or that the way. And like I was so quick to, if I saw any similarity, I was done. I was out. I was so unwilling to repeat the same hurt, go through the same hurt, repeat any of the same situations that I was like, no, I'm dipping this in the blood right now, right here, right now. Ain't nothing else to talk about. We're not even getting far into this because I just felt like I couldn't deal with it anymore, right? I couldn't take any more. And that wasn't right of me. That's not right of those people. But it's also not right to associate not forgiving someone because you feel like the way that they offended you or the reason they offended you was all is always super, super intentional. Like sometimes they just do it to everybody. It don't have nothing to do with you. Sometimes, like I said, it's displaced. It really has nothing to do with you. So it's like being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Like it really don't have nothing to do with you. But if you think it does and you internalize it, then you're hurt 100 times more and being hurt 100 times more, especially from people that are supposed to be close to you or that you let into your space or to your circle, like it's gonna take you down through this so much more. It's gonna start to affect your mental because you feel offended outwardly and physically or on a surface level. And then you also feel offended mentally and emotionally. And that's a way deeper level. So now you feel double offended by somebody who's supposed to care about you. And it's 10 out of 10 would not recommend. But before we get too far into the episode, we gotta go. We gotta go to the corner. We gotta go to the corner and let's see what this whole feature is about. Welcome to Styledbyksymone Fashion Corner. I heard spring has sprung. So, since she outside, let's get into the fit check. We decided to give everybody a little color since spring outside. Spring outside. Yeah. Y'all know I'm gonna come with a color blocking combination because yeah, the shoe just gives with the dress. Y'all can't tell me it don't. But yeah, we just got a quick little abstract orange and white bodycon dress with some lace up heels. They're actually, hold on. Can y'all see in that? They actually are a rope material around the whole shoe. And then they lace up in knots, y'all. And I just, yeah. Yeah. I just thought this was a perfect pairing to give sparring some soccer draft from this. Okay, so what y'all think about the fit check today? Okay, let's get next episode. Okay, we're back. How y'all think we doing on fit check? Like it's one of the few, early stages of spring. So I feel like let's give a little spring energy, right? Let's give a little spring energy. Okay. But let's get back into some of these misconceptions, y'all, because we were just talking about, how there's levels to offense. Could be a little surface level or it could be deeper than that. And I feel like the deeper it is, the longer it stays in your mind and holds space for you because it seems so much greater than something that's very light and at surface level. And that's something that I had to overcome and dealing with because in all reality, the longer you hang on to unforgiveness is basically taking up space in your mind, right? And we already have talked and learned about what you think about is what then starts to affect your behaviors. It starts to affect how you show up, how you get up, what places you go into, how you smile. Your mood, your energy, it begins to affect everything, right? So, they say forgive but don't forget, right? That really wasn't my struggle. I knew I could forgive somebody and not forget. But the issue I had was that I thought that if I kept replaying whatever this person did, like fresh in my mind, it was somehow protecting me from allowing it to happen again to me. Because, like I told y'all earlier, like I was gung ho on not allowing the same things to hurt me, the same people to offend me over and over again. I was not a fan of repeating those cycles of being hurt because I felt like then it kind of said something about me. People would be like, oh, well, you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. You keep going back to the same person thinking they'll stop hurting you. You keep doing. So I was like, okay, let me keep thinking about it, reminding myself of the ways that they hurt me. So then I won't go back. So then I won't be vulnerable to them again. So then I won't put myself in the same position again to be hurt again. Right. And there's two problems with it. There's two problems with it. The first problem is forgiving somebody do not mean you have to automatically be buddy buddy with them again. Does not automatically mean reconciliation. You can have boundaries. I have forgiven people and I have boundaries with them. Like there are certain things we just don't do no more. There are certain things we don't talk about anymore. There are certain places I just don't go with certain people anymore. And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to have boundaries around people because not everybody, like I was saying earlier, not everybody you're going to be able to separate out your life 1000%. It's just not going to happen like that. But when you forgive this person, you're not letting them off the hook. You're not excusing their behavior, but you also don't got to go be buddy buddy with them. You don't. And that was something that took me a little minute to get into simply because I felt like if I went in front of people or went around someone, that automatically meant that I still had to interact with them in a way that they were familiar with me interacting with them. And the pastor that I was to Sunday, he said something like to the effect that maybe you were interacting with them in a way you never should have been interacting with them in the first place. Like you put them in a seat or a position in your life that you should never have done anyway. So when you go back to that person after they've offended you, after you've attempted to forgive them and they do it again, you're constantly getting hurt in the same space, in the same cycle. And it's baffling you and tearing you down mentally and physically because you just can't understand why would they keep doing this to me? Why would they keep doing this to me? And the only thing you need to be taking accountability for is why do you keep allowing them to do it to you? And when my therapist talked to me about my own accountability in what was going on with me with other people, I tightened up quick. I said, oh, baby, I'm not going to continue to put you in a position to do this. So I'm going to forgive you, but I'm going to forgive you and create boundaries. I'm going to forgive you and put you in a new place, put you in a more appropriate place in my life. I want to forgive you, but that does not mean I have to still, we have to date again. I can forgive you. And it does not mean we got to hang out every weekend. I can forgive you and we don't have to be cool. Like I used to be real big on If I forgave certain people that I was around or I had to be around, I just would avoid going around them until I knew I was going forgiveness because I was like, I'm a kind of person that if we haven't hung out in 3 years, 2 months, 2 days, I'ma still kick it with you like we hung out last night. Like that's just my personality. But when people would offend me, I would fall into the trap of still being myself and producing my personality, which would then lead me into being hurt again by said person because I'm giving them that space. So I had to hurry up and learn, hey, look, until you can forgive that person, until you can go back into that area, to that space with these boundaries, with this new thought process of idea of really sitting there and contemplating what kind of place they should hold in your life, what kind of place they have shown you that they have the capacity to hold in your life, what type of interactions you can have with this person that's not going to lead you into being offended or hurt by them again. When you got that all figured out, then you can go back around them so that you can be your genuine self without any malice or problem in your heart. Because I feel like it's really, I'm not the person that sit there in the room and don't want to talk to nobody. Like I want to interact. So if I can't interact with you, even if it's within a boundary level, I'm just not gonna come. I'm just not gonna be around you. And it took me being offended by several people several times to finally come to that conclusion. Because even when I was going through therapy, I was coming back and hollering at her every week. I was like, girl, you telling me to do this and do that, and they still doing it. You tell me create boundaries. They're not even respecting the boundaries. So she really had to work with me about forgiveness and boundaries, all these things that they're about you. And you have to keep reiterating these things, or you basically have to keep standing firm in what you got going on and how you're moving and how you're approaching the situation or the new boundaries that you have until that person begins to get on the same board and the same page. And if they don't, it's up to you what you're gonna do with it after that. But telling them one time or address them in this kind of way one time after they're used to you mimicking a behavior over and over and over again, the same way you're used to them hurting you over and over and over again. Basically, y'all have taught each other you have taught each other your interaction. And so they're not gonna be okay with the fact that you're not okay with them offending you the way that they continuously do or continuously have in the past. So yeah, you're gonna have to get rid of that thought process that replaying it in your head is gonna help you because it's not gonna help you. What it really does is it tears you down mentally even more because you're constantly thinking about it. You're never able to come from under it if it's constantly replaying in your head. Like you're not thinking about anything positive. You're not thinking about your next move. You're not thinking about anything except what they did, what they did, what they did. And in all honesty, it took me so much longer to get to a place where I had my joy again after I was hurt because I never stopped thinking about how I was hurt. And I'm not saying excuse, like just jump over your hurt. No. Feel your feelings, address your feelings, be vulnerable, be honest, journal it out, whatever you need to do. But in the end, come to the conclusion that you no longer need to keep it on loop in your head. They've offended you. You've dealt with it. You've been honest and transparent about where you are with it or your emotions stand and how you're gonna move forward and address through that and how you're gonna grow and work and heal on this. So there's no need for you to keep playing it in your head. Whether they apologize, whether they don't apologize, whether you get closure, whether you don't get closure, whether they change their behavior or not. There's no need for you to allow it to take up mental space for you or to cause you to be depressed or cause anxiety or anything like that. Do not allow you being unwilling to forgive someone to free yourself end up leading you into something that is much, much more deep, like anxiety and depression, because it's not worth it. It's literally not worth it. Forgive the person, let it go, clear your mind from the issue and move on. And it's not a move on in the sense of it doesn't matter, it didn't happen, belittle your feelings. No, you have so much more life to live. You have so many more things to accomplish. You have so much more light in you and in your life to continue to go on and grow on to. And you're going to keep yourself stuck in the box of what they did to you versus live your life because they're not tripping. I promise you they're not. And that used to irk me. My God, that used to irk me so bad. Why are you not affected by the fact that you have hurt me like this? Like you sleeping like a baby at night. I'm up. I ain't slept in about 25, 45 days because it's on loop. It's on loop. It's on loop. Every time I try to go to sleep, dream about it. Every time I try to lean over, turn over the other way to try to go to sleep, it's rolling, it's rolling, it's rolling, it's rolling. And God steady saying, turn it up cheek. And I'm like, Jesus, I only got two. I don't know what to tell you. Um, it was a lot going on, y'all. And my thoughts were never clear. My thoughts were never calm. And because I was keeping it on loop, thinking I was protecting myself, it caused me anxiety, y'all. It drove me nuts. Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not let that happen to you. Do not do what I did. Forgive them and let it go. Do not speak to that misconception because it's not right. You're not doing anything to that person by holding on to unforgiveness. You're literally not. You're only hurting yourself. You're only deteriorating yourself. You're only holding yourself back. Like you're not holding them hostage one bit. They didn't tore you down in a relationship and they in their next relationship. They out there partying, they're out there doing what they want to do. And you're sliding down the wall in a dark room for days, months, years, weeks. You're functioning like you're good, but you're now hurt and you're bleeding on other people. Hurt people, hurt people. Like, baby, no. No, 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 no. We don't want that for them. We don't want that for you. But we care as you and me, we care about you. We care about you showing up for you every day. And if you're having a hard time showing up for yourself or healing or growing or progressing because you're unwilling to forgive somebody because of any of these reasons, can we let it go today? Can we let it go today? Because we have so much more in us. We have so much more we can do versus hold on to our forgiveness. It's really doing nothing. And y'all, I can't sit here and tell you forgiveness is easy. But what I am gonna tell you is if you get your mind, your thinking, your thought process, your mindset around forgiveness in a better space, in a more accurate space, in a more productive mindset of growing versus revenge or versus it's letting them off the hook or versus that you it's a coping mechanism to protect yourself. If you let go of some of those thinking patterns, forgiveness will be much easier for you because in all honesty, you deserve to let yourself free of hanging on to whatever they did. Like it's like baggage. You're literally holding on to baggage, weighing you down from moving forward, moving on, from growing, from prospering, from progressing, because you just won't let it go. Get the scissors, cut it, let it go. Because one of the hardest people for me to ever forgive in life was my mother. It was so hard for me to forgive her simply because she was all these things. She was a repeat offender. It was displaced. I was trying to protect myself, but every time I came back into the space, you know that I was gonna say, "You only get one mama. You only get." And I had to tell some of them people, baby, do y'all care about me being here and being alive in this world, or do y'all care about the fact that y'all saying I only got one mother? Until I could go and create boundaries and be in a certain space with my mother, I could not deal with her. I could not speak with her or anything. And that is nothing to say or shine a light on whatever she had going on, whatever she did. Now that I'm an adult, now that I'm a mother, I understand we go through things. We can be in certain kind of spaces, but that's why I fight so hard to grow, to come out of those spaces, to still parent through whatever it is that I'm dealing with, I'm going through simply because I've experienced the other side of that. And I don't want to give that to my children. However, when I came from up under the veil that the forgiveness was not about her, the forgiveness was not about saying what she did was okay, saying the way she behaved, saying any of the things that I didn't like was okay. And I said, it's about me. You're still worried about this. You're still stressed out about this. You're losing sleep. You're not enjoying your life. You are using it as an excuse to certain reasons of why you can't do certain things. Oh, well, I can't love. I don't know how to love because I wasn't loved. I can't be nurturing or this or that because I wasn't nurturing. You could find yourself using anything from trauma or anything that's connected to any level of unforgiveness in your life as an excuse to why you can't something else or why you refuse to something else. So just let them off the hook. Let them let it go. Release them. And it's not for them, it's for you. Release you. Today's ending conclusion is forgive somebody else or let go of unforgiveness to release you. Because we have so much more in us and we have so much more things that we want to do to show up for ourselves. And we can't continue to show up for ourselves if we're held back and held down by the fact that we're not willing to forgive somebody. Because they already then moved on with their life about whatever it is, and they probably not tore up about it the way that you are tore up about it. I hope some of the ways that I was thinking, if you have struggled with thinking that way, it would help you. If you are struggling specifically with wanting to address a person for something that they did or feel like you need to get some things said, get some things out, journal about it. Journal about it because that's what I had to do. I even did a few of those like rip up or burn letters because I had a lot to say. I had a lot to say because even sometimes somebody can be an indirect part of something that offended you. And let's just say somebody at work offends you, like a coworker, and you feel like the boss ain't saying nothing about it. So now you got something to say to the person who offended you and the boss because they ain't saying nothing about it. Like sometimes you might need you need to journal and write some letters out to get all that stuff out of you so that it can come out of your mind, out of your head, and it won't stay on there. But if you have any other questions or any other comments around any of the misconceptions that I shared with you guys today, let me know in the comments. As always, all of our social medias will be linked on the end. That's all I got for y'all today.